Hello and welcome to this interview in the series that is all about empowering a league of extraordinary mothers on how to lay a strong foundation for health and happiness in our teenage girls. Today's interview is with Jacqueline Way. Jacqueline has dedicated herself to social good projects, both personally and professionally, for over 2 decades, raising millions of dollars for organisations globally. I first came across Jacqueline through a TED Talk that she did a year ago, almost to the week, that has since been viewed by more than 1.5 million people. The talk is titled, How to Be Happy Every Day, It Will Change the World. And through this talk, she has inspired not just individuals, but families, communities, and businesses. Thank you so much for being here, Jacqueline.
Well, thank you so much. Always an honor to be able to reach out, and especially to other mothers. It's how I started my TED Talk. We have got one of the toughest jobs on the planet, and as far as I'm concerned, that's moms.
Yeah, it is. It is. And the more the support that we can give each other and the more we can, hold each other up, the better the world's going to be. That's my belief.
And share our ideas and what's worked, and what doesn't, both ways.
Yeah. So what brought you here, Jacqueline? How did you come to be doing the work that you're doing?
It's the perfect kind of lead-in, because the work that I'm doing right now, and I have a not-for-profit or a charitable organization called 365 Give, was actually inspired by my very first son. I am actually an adoptive mother of 3 beautiful little boys. And the day I held my first son in my arms, he was 11 weeks old, and it literally changed the way I viewed life and the way I viewed the world. And I'm just like, I've been giving us an amazing opportunity, to raise a child and this gift. And I kind of took a look around the world and I went, oh, I got to do something about this. I've got to do something to fix it. And that's a big way to think. And literally it was like, how am I going to change the world? And I talked to a lot of people about it, and people are like, don't change the world. Just like do one little thing, like go support your local animal shelter, or, raise money for cancer. And it's like, you know what? I had been there and I had done that already. And so I just started thinking about, world changing on a different level. And so it brought us to 365 Give. And, what was really important to me as a parent was not if my kid got good grades in school, or if he went to university, or if he becomes a lawyer or doctor. It was really, how can I, as a parent, instill in him kindness and compassion and love as a human being? And that's my priority as a parent, and was from even before my son was born. So on his 3rd birthday, I decided this was it. I was going to start really focusing on teaching my kid, his name is Nick, and how I was going to teach Nick kindness and compassion, empathy, for not only for people, but for animals and for our planet. And how was I going to tie that into a 3-year-old's life, which, isn't always an easy task most days, because the last thing you want to do is sit down and start hammering rules at them. So for me, it was, how do I incorporate a kind of almost a project-based learning, something that we could do together every day, really simple. And we also had to be so simple a 3-year-old could do it. And so we made a commitment on his 3rd birthday together that we were going to do one thing to give back to the world every day. So that's where 365 comes from, and 365 Give was kind of the natural fit for a name. And I really wanted to record our journey. And I recorded the journey for 2 reasons. One, I wanted him to have something to look back at one day and go, wow, look at this cool thing that we did together, because I was hoping it was really going to impact him. And, our other goal was, if we could inspire even one other person to give a little bit more in their life, then that would be awesome. It would be a way to start changing the world. Because we believe that, even if you're picking up garbage in your neighborhood or around your house, or for us down at the beach, that does change the world. Because I'm changing the world by cleaning up the planet. We're changing the world for the animals that we're also saving, that swim in our ocean. And we're saving ourselves and helping ourselves, because we're not eating that fish that are in the ocean that are eating our garbage. Like it's a cycle. It's like a cycle of life. So we figured we were changing the world just by the little things that we did every day. Yeah. And so we created this blog, and this is now 10 years ago. And so this is, or not even 10, sorry, 7 years ago. And this is when blogging really was just starting to become a phenomenon. This is before video blogging and everything else. I wasn't even on Facebook, even personally. I'd never done Twitter, any of those things. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to give it a shot. And so I did. And so I blogged every day for 365 days, and I told our stories as we went along. So it was an amazing trip, an amazing journey. And people started reading the blog, and they started following us and reading our stories. And then they started telling us their stories that they were doing because they were actually inspired by my son. And it was remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah. And so then I end up, well, and the story goes further, but really, if you watch the TED Talk, you'll get lots of this. The story goes further a couple of years, well, two more children after that. The fun part about that story I never tell is that on day 365, our second son came home, and we adopted our second son. And for people that are parents out there, I know you will get this. It's like when they say, when you give, you get. Wooly, we got literally on day 365, we brought our second son home on my son's 4th birthday. And the gifts kept coming. And 6 months later, his biological brother was born, and we brought another one home. So it's a remarkable story for our family. And a few years later, once I got over sleep deprivations, for all you moms out there, you get this. We turned 365 Give into an educational program, one that could be implemented directly into schools, that tied into children's curriculum. But it's really led by the students as early as kindergarten right up to grade 12. And now we keep going. You know, TED changed it all for us because there was such a reach from the TED Talk globally that people, like when I say from all over the world, it's unbelievable. Every day I still get emails of people going, I'm doing 365 Give. How do I become part of your community? How do we join? I get this because it's so simple. A 3-year-old can do it. And that's what people need. They needed that connection to how can they put something into action? Because not all of us are Bono or Oprah or Bill Gates. Yeah. And we don't have millions of dollars. We don't have $5 on a good day, you know, to give. And so our whole concept is that even everyday small actions to give back to animals, people, or the planet, it changes the world. And if you times that by 7 billion people, everything's going to change.
That's massive.
Everything's going to change.
One of the things that I struggle with in my life is getting enough exercise. And so I made a commitment to go out at 6:30 and go for a walk every morning, because if I don't do it early in the day, it just doesn't happen. And quite often my give for the day is just smiling at everybody I walk past. And that might sound really kind of weird to some people, but you would be amazed at how many people walk looking at the ground or looking at their feet, or don't want to look up because they're afraid to connect, or I don't know what the reason is. But when you smile at somebody, the reaction is just so beautiful. And I know the effect that it has on me. So sometimes that's my give for the day.
Absolutely. Well, and we'll talk a little bit about the science and psychology of giving, but even smiling, it literally creates a reaction in your body. Yes. So you get a physical reaction just because you smiled, and it's happiness. It's a happy reaction. And then the person that you smile at, you've given them a happy reaction. And all of a sudden your day has changed.
Yep.
You know, and their day has changed. And I do the same thing. I was actually, this afternoon, I saw something on Facebook, and it was something new called plogging. And in Sweden, it's supposed to be a big thing where everybody, when you go out for a jog in the morning, you pick up garbage at the same time. And it's actually something I do every day when I go out, because we have a dog. I go out running with my dog, and I always pick up garbage every time I'm out. And I'll do lunges with it, and I'll pick up the garbage, or I'll do a squat and I'll pick up the garbage to tie it into my exercise routine at the same time. But there is always a way and always a possibility that you can find to give back that are so simple, and you incorporate it into your life. I mean, you can wake up in the morning, and the first thing you do when you go on your emails, just send a friend or a family member, somebody you haven't seen, a note to say how grateful you are to, you know, for them in your life, you know, or how much you love them. Yeah. Gratitude, generosity, kindness, empathy, compassion, they're all part of what we call the giving umbrella. It's actually why we don't say just kindness, because we think it's actually actions, and it is compassion and generosity and gratitude, and it's all under that same giving umbrella.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's, looking at the science of giving or kindness or, this umbrella. I think that's we often need to know the why behind something before we get really good at putting it into action. So can we talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've actually been researching the science of giving for decades now. So they actually have done research and followed people throughout their life since when they're children to, into their into their 50s. It's actually to study those effects. They've done MRI studies where they brain scan people to see the effects of giving has directly on your brain. So what they've discovered is it basically kicks in different parts of your body. So your serotonin, which is a big one, and I call it your love hormone, your cuddle hormone. It's that part that just makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. It reduces your stress, which is your cortisol, and this is always a big one. And honestly, I always tell this story. When I was doing that TED Talk and preparing for it, you're under so much stress and anxiety about doing a TED Talk that I used every morning. I would make sure every day I would get out and do a give to help reduce my stress and anxiety around my TED Talk about giving, which was pretty funny. But it literally helps up to 23%. It can actually reduce your stress. Yeah. Which is huge since so many people are suffering. And as we know, as parents, our kids are all suffering from stress and anxiety around school and around life and around, everything that's going on for them. And so getting them engaged in, they call it youth philanthropy, or getting them engaged in activities for giving. And if that's volunteering or just doing activities as a family, you're going to see their happiness levels rise and their stress levels decrease. And it's huge, and for us moms, just so you know, it happens that it actually is your body's natural anti-aging remedy. So they have proven that it increases your life longevity. It reduces things like heart disease and sorry, I'm getting a brain block here. But it will actually increase your health and decrease many of the elements that we all suffer from in our bodies. So it's just beneficial to you personally, even though you're giving to other things, it's so beneficial to us. Yeah. And most of all, our happiness levels. Mm-hmm. And right now we're seeing a huge global movement going on around well-being and happiness and mental health. Mm. And when you look at the research behind happiness in the top 10 every time, you want to be happy, give. Like every time you'll see it in all of the research around happiness is, even if it's small, just do something to give back, be of service of others. Yeah. It's in every religious book that has ever been written. And you will increase the happiness in your life.
Yeah. I think, not only for ourselves, but particularly for girls in our communities and in our schools and in our lives, taking some of the focus off the me. We live in a world that's so me focused. How will I look in this Instagram image? What is everybody thinking about me? How many likes do I get? Getting some of that focus off ourselves and turning that around to focus on what we can do for other people is just so powerful.
Absolutely. And I've worked with a lot of kids, and honestly, one of my kids has some stress and anxiety around school. And it's actually what we do when they're starting to feel those anxious feelings around going to school is, instead of going directly into school, we'll actually go and do a gift. We'll go down to the beach, we'll collect garbage, we'll go to Starbucks, we'll buy somebody else a coffee, whatever that is. We'll go drop our clothes down at our local recycling our local charitable clothing store, and we'll actually go and do a give. It gets them out of their heads, gets them out of their bodies, and puts that focus somewhere else. And then we're ready to go to school, and we can turn around and we will go into school. We may be half an hour late, but you know what? We've done something great for our world, and it's put them back into a centered place that's gotten them out of here and into their hearts. And that's where it really comes from, because giving comes from the light inside you. Giving comes from your heart and your soul. And so it changes everything. And we see it in kids literally from kindergarten that have been practicing 365 Give in school, right up to the high school level. I'm actually working with 12 high school kids right now on our very first, what we're calling our Do One Give Day. which we're launching very shortly. And I've worked with 12 high school students because their focus, they're in a youth philanthropy group, and their focus is how they can participate giving back to their community. Yeah. The great thing is that we're making this giving it back to the world for them. And we've set big goals and big targets for them. But I see the stress they're under school, the amount of pressure that high school kids put themselves under, to get the grades, to get into the university, to, excel. I mean, a lot of them have joined the youth philanthropy group, not only because they want to participate in making the world a better place, but because they do it because it helps them get into university. It's good for their resume. Mm-hmm. And so it's that combination of going, okay, this isn't a goal-oriented sport. Giving isn't a goal-oriented sport of here, it looks good on my resume. It's look how we're going to make a big change. And so we're talking about impact and that impact that we can make on the world. And it's connecting them completely differently. It's really wonderful to watch.
That's absolutely, I just can see what an extraordinary contribution that would make to the health of our kids in school, focusing on this. So for any teachers that might be listening, high school teachers, or for mums that want to introduce this into the schools where their high school girls are, what does it look like? How do you go about setting something like that up?
Sure. Well, I mean, the nice thing is just recently, we are a charitable organization, but last year we got some funding to create a new platform. And if you go to our platform, 365give.ca, we can lead you right through it. So whether it's a family, you can do it as a family, you can do it as a classroom, individual, you can do it as a school, you can do it as a business, you can do it as a small community group or club. We have a lot of high school clubs where the students are actually starting 365 Give clubs right at their school. So it's a student-led initiative. They're doing it themselves. They're figuring out how to communicate and how to give together, both in small projects individually and then as larger projects that they're doing. So we're seeing a lot of that at the high school level. From an individual class perspective at the high school level, it works really well as well. We've seen it being implemented into leadership groups, which is a really big one. Especially at the high school level, we're seeing a lot of leadership type classes now that the kids can take at school. And it's a really good tie-in with that as well. But I think the big thing is, and especially for moms, if you want to take it into your elementary schools, it's the same thing. You go in and you need to talk to your principal about these conversations. You need to take a look at what is our school doing. A lot of schools do implement global citizenship, but the challenge goes is they do one big project. And this happens at my son's school all the time. Drives me a bit crazy. As he comes home and he says, Mom, we're doing a food drive at school. Give me all the cans that I can get, because if my classroom brings the most cans, we win a pizza party. And I'm like, fantastic. So I'll literally say to him, well, where's the food going? I don't know. Well, what charity are you supporting where the food's going? Who are you helping? Like, no clue whatsoever. They have no idea. Nice. And so, I make him go back and I say, fine, you go find out where this food is going. You tell me more about this project and then we'll think about it. But what we don't do is we don't do a reward system at all. So the reward is, and what they'll figure out is the reward is giving. Yeah. Because it actually makes them happy. And this is what we've seen in the kids again and again. They don't want a reward because they just love how it feels when they give, and they completely feel like it's their reward enough. Yeah. But implementing it into your family as well, like, so important. I literally was out with my kids. We were in downtown Vancouver, and we literally stopped at a stoplight, and I went, okay, guys, everybody out of the car. We pulled over to the side. We had a snack bag full of granola bars, and I saw a gentleman sitting down at the edge of the street, obviously a homeless person. And I went, guys, everybody out. Somebody needs our help. We got out of the car. It took us 1 minute. We did our 365 Give for the day. The gentleman was thrilled. He was a remarkable artist. He was actually sitting doing art. We got one of his pieces of art that he gave us. We provided him with $5 so we could at least go get a meal today. And then all of our snacks that we had in our snack bag, which was about 4 bars and some yogurt drinks. And he was thrilled. He hadn't eaten all day. So it was amazing for us to be able to just stop, take 2 minutes out of our lives and know that we've now made a big impact on somebody. Even if it's for today, we made an impact on him today. Yeah. And it was amazing for us. So at the school level, it's just easy. Honestly, I tell most people, send my TED Talk to your principal. Because we've seen the effect. So if it's principal at your school or a leader at your school, send them our TED Talk, send them our site, and we will walk you through it. We have a whole badging system for kids. that they love, because they can go in and they can actually track their daily gives. They get a badge. That's our reward, our Happy Hearts badges that we give to the kids online. So it is all technology based now, and easy to track. And then we have an impact map, and our impact map shows people giving and who are part of our community all over the world. And you can easily just click on these little pins and it tells you the gives that are going on and gives you ideas. You will never not be inspired or find ways to give, because we're constantly sending out new ideas and new ways of looking at how you can give in your life really easily. Or choose one thing. Choose one thing. If garbage is your thing and the planet is, pick up garbage every day. It doesn't have to be something different every day. If you're a couch potato, we have places that you can go click to give online. You can go onto our site and see them. There's this amazing game called the Free Rice Game, and you can go through and it does like Trivial Pursuit questions, and it's good for kids right up to grown-ups. Every time you get a question right, they donate free rice. It's amazing. So there's so many things you can do, no matter if you're a couch potato or if you're active or if you like to volunteer or you like to give money. There's so many things that you can do. It's nonstop in our world.
Yeah. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me after the end of this summit, I'm very happy to give out copies of this interview if you want to send this to, because we've spoken specifically about high schools. I'm very happy to give out this interview for people to send to their principals, and that'd be great.
Absolutely. No, it's perfect. That would be great.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the difference between, Jacqueline, if we go, okay, so this whole idea of coming up with a monumental idea where we're going to raise all this money and do one great big give, probably feels like an overwhelming thing to people. And I just want to talk about, or I'd like you to talk about the difference between doing that big monumental give versus just doing a little bit each day.
Absolutely. And again, this has all been, most people don't realize, but they've actually done studies on this, and the benefits of giving every day or giving weekly, or on a regular basis versus, a lot of people have, obviously at Christmas time, they feel inspired to give and they give at Christmas time. But from a long-term perspective, both on the health and the well-being benefits to your body and your brain, you will get more benefits out of giving every day or on a regular basis, if that's once a week for you, whether it's volunteering your time, and connecting with people on a regular basis. Because what people don't realize is giving as well, it gives you connection to people.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of our well-being as well, is finding that connection to other people, and your community and the world around you. It's really important part of giving. And even if that's connecting to your garden or the wildlife, we make sure we have a bird feeder. That's one of our daily gives that we do, and we feed the birds. They're always well stocked in our yard. It's making that connection to something outside of yourself. So for the happiness benefits and the well-being benefits, you're actually better off doing lots of, and even if it's putting a jar on your counter and every day putting $1 in that jar, and then at the end of the year donating $365, put a jar or a box in your kitchen, label it 365 give as your reminder. Every day you're making that conscious decision and you're getting the physical reaction that you're giving. Yeah. And then at the end of the year, give that money on a bigger scale if that's something that you do. One of the things we do in our family is with our recycling, we can take our recycling to a depot here in Canada, and they will give us money back for certain things like cans and glass bottles. And so every 2 weeks we go to the recycling depot. We keep all that money. We get about 15 Canadian dollars, and we have a jar we put it in. And then at the end of the year, we donate all that money. We don't have as a family a lot of money to give away. People think because I did a TED Talk, I have tons of money, but we don't. I am a regular person and we have a regular family. And so we take that money, our recycling money, and that's our donation to somewhere that we all choose as a family at the end of the year. Which always makes us, we've helped build a roof on a school in Africa one year, was an amazing thing that Nick and I did one year. So there's things that you can do that still give you that feeling of making a big contribution, but you just find your own ways to do it in small ways.
Yeah.
And track it. When you track it, I'm telling you, when you start writing it down, you make a list, you go, okay, here, 10 gives. What can I do over the next 10 days? Get yourself into a habit. We say it's a habit like brushing your teeth. It takes 66 days to actually form a habit. People think it's 21. 21 will get you going, but for it to actually stick, it needs to be 66 days. And once you've done 66 gives in 66 days, you won't actually have to think about it again because you will never walk past another opportunity to give. It'll just be there. It'll be at the forefront of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and you will just give.
Yeah. Well, it's like, pressing the little buttons on our smartphones. It gives us that dopamine hit. It becomes that habit forming thing.
Completely.
Let's turn that into
Dopamine is like, you'll completely get that from giving. It's the same type of high. Yeah. They actually call it the helper's high. There's a name for it, and they call it the helper's high.
Yeah. Love it.
Skip the chocolate cake, skip the, recreational drugs, go for the give instead. You'll get that same great feeling.
Yeah. It's a bit healthier too.
Exactly.
So I know that just recently the World Health Organization, they do, is it the health, no, I've just lost the World Health Day, is it, that they organize?
There's a couple. So there's World Health Day and World Happiness Day, and they're just a few weeks apart from each other.
Okay. So that was recently.
World Health Day was just recently, like 2 days ago.
Yeah. So that it was in Dubai, and you were invited to speak there, weren't you?
Yeah, that was at World Happiness Day. I was at World Happiness Day in Dubai, which is World Happiness Day in a very short period of time has become huge all over the world. And it's March 21st every year. And sorry, one of my little monkeys is just walking in right now. And on World Happiness Day, it's literally celebrated in different ways all over the world. And Dubai is actually the first country in the world that has a happiness minister. So they actually have made it as their country's top of their country's agenda that the happiness of their people and becoming one of the happiest places to the world is priority for them. So that's what they're working towards. So they invited Nick and I, because my story is about my son and he is the co-founder of 365 Give along with me. They invited us to come out to Dubai to be a keynote speaker along with some other really remarkable people from all over the world. And it was an amazing experience. It was 4 days of pure happiness, literally, literally. And it wasn't just about doing things to make you happy. It was about educating people around all the parts and all the levels of happiness in your life and well-being. So people were educated, they had experiences, keynote speakers, but it was literally 4 days of an amazing opportunity to be part of the happiness movement going on all over the world.
So Jacqueline, what were some of the key things? I mean, obviously we're talking about giving in this interview, but for the sake of this summit and what I'm trying to pull together, what were some of the key things that people were talking about?
I think there's kind of a top 10 ways to be happy out there these days. And some of the big parts about it is, first of all, is your mental well-being. And how are you or what are you doing in your life to every day prepare for the stress and anxiety potentially that you're going through? What are you doing to deal with the traumas in your life? What are we doing to get out of our heads and into our hearts, literally, because that's the big shift that we're seeing right now. So it's, how are we all doing with those traumas and the big things in our life that are bringing us into the anxiety and depression? Literally, and the World Happiness Report has told us this, that, over 220 million children and 1 billion adults, and that's only what they've been able to track, are suffering from anxiety and stress. And so how are we taking care of our mental well-being? And so that's a big part of it. Next one is our health. So how are we eating? How are we taking care of our bodies through food and everything else that we expose it to? And the other part of that health component, of course, is exercise. What are we doing for our bodies to move our bodies? Are we walking? Are we doing yoga? How are we making that connection? And then how are we connecting to ourselves? So it's a lot of that meditation piece, sitting still, having calm moments, finding the time for yourself in your life rather than just work and just your family and everything else. Where's the calmness in your life? And so there was a lot of focus around that as well. And then the big part is where is your service? And those are some of the main components that we see all the way through happiness that will bring you the happiness overall in your life. Because the problem is we're all looking for happiness on the outside of our world. How much money can I make? Because that car that I need to buy, it's going to make me happy. And we see it again and again. And any rich person that you talk to is that, yeah, that car might make them happy for the first 2 days it's in their in their parking spot out front of their house, but then that's it. Then they're on to the next thing. What else can I buy? What else, can I do? What can I experience? And really the big movement is happiness is coming from the inside.
Yeah.
And so how are we connecting to that from the inside?
Yeah. A big part of the purpose of pulling together this interview series is that I'm really passionate about bringing the power to be, or feeling empowered to be healthy and happy from within our homes, what we're doing in our everyday lives, our everyday activities that can make all the difference. And so there are people in this summit that are talking about food and sleep and movement and connection to people and nature and all those things. So the fact that you've just outlined that as what we need to be looking at, that just makes me very excited.
Well, there's a movement going on right now, and the gentleman who he recently resigned as the CEO of Google, and he has started an action, and it is, if you hashtag 1 billion happy, he is on a mission to help inspire and create 1 billion happy people on our planet. And we have joined in on it with him. We're on it. His book is worth reading. Actually, I have it. Give me 1 second. I might just be able to show it to you. I do.
I'm just writing it down.
I will show it to you. I have it by my bedside. Solve for Happiness.
Yeah.
That's it right there. And I think everybody should read it. It's really impactful, and having what he calls a moonshot goal of 1 billion happy. We can't wait to be part of that and do our part. Which is encouraging, inspiring, and educating people to give, because we know it's such a big part of happiness. So we're thrilled to be see what we can do to help move the needle towards that 1 billion people happy as well.
Yeah. So what a
and you're doing your part as well, Edwina. I mean, just doing these interviews and encouraging and inspiring people.
Yeah.
You're doing your part. You're part of that 1 billion.
Well, I'm thinking, as we're talking, this summit is designed to go over 21 days. And even though that's just the beginning of setting a new habit, I'm thinking that we should maybe set up something that I'll run through the Facebook page that, we can log there what people are doing each day to start creating that habit.
Absolutely. I think it's a great idea. Absolutely. And, I think everybody, the more we share this happiness, I don't want to say it's a theme, it's literally a happiness movement. It will be so important for us to continue to share ideas through social. Like, let's get rid of the bad news. Let's start sharing the good, and that's what we try and do through our stories with 365 Give. We got an amazing guy helping us in Bali at the moment, who just does amazing Instagram stories on 365 Give all of the time. But we see this popping up all over the time on social media now. It's like, let's replace the fake news, because we've all had enough of it, and let's replace it with the good news. And that is people being happy. That's, what are you doing in your life? Share it. What are you doing to give? Share it. And we always say that. You give, you share, and it ripples. And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to create that ripple effect all over the world.
I think that ripple effect is a really key part. It's lovely to start with, what we're doing ourselves, and then build to our families. And then once you start talking about it, that ripple effect. And I'm sure that you can tell us some incredible stories, the ripple effect of your TED Talk. I'd love to hear a couple of the stories that you've heard back from people through that.
Well, and it's actually amazing, because it was probably, I sent somebody a message last night, and I had somebody reach out to me, and it was a gentleman by the name of Ian. He reached out to me from Bali in about November last year, and he's a young guy, 28 years old. And he reached out and he said, listen, I want to help. I saw your TED Talk, and I want to help you, with social media or whatever I can do. I want to volunteer my time to help. And this is what we get all the time. We get people reaching out to us going, how can I volunteer? How can I be part of what you're doing? And I can't tell you the impact that even just this one person, and I literally emailed him last night and I said, Ian, my goal with the TED Talk was only if I could touch just one person, if I could inspire one person to give. And Ian ended up doing 30 Instagram stories on his handle. Everybody should go take a look at it. His handle is @IanEllis5. And he did 30 365 Give stories, videos on his Instagram handle. And he is now one of our ambassadors, but he's doing these amazing videos for us. Like the movement that he is helping us create and his passion and his energy around it. And that's just one. I've got teachers in India. We've had people reaching out to us saying, we want to help you create an app. We had $75,000 worth of in-kind time donated to help us create our new website and platform. We couldn't have done it without all of our volunteers. And that was all because of the TED Talk, because of the amount of people that just said, I want to help, I want to help. How can we help grow this? And it hasn't stopped. It still goes every day. I am humbled by the comments that I get on that TED Talk still. I respond to every single comment on that TED Talk I've ever gotten. We are, Nick and I continually just can't believe the reach we've had at every corner of the planet. It's been remarkable. Because people, they get it. They instantly, they're like, oh my God, I can do this. This is something I can do. And they identify with what we're doing, and they're like, okay, I found it. This is the thing that I can do to give back to the world.
Yeah.
So you times that, 1.5, and then all the shares and all the everything else, and you go, okay, how can I be part of that 1 billion? And the 1 million mark used to scare me when we used to talk about 1 million daily gives, and all of a sudden we're going, you know what, 1 billion's possible. It may not be tomorrow, but 1 billion is possible.
Yeah. And I don't imagine you ever in your wildest dreams imagine getting 1.5 million views on your tour, Jacqueline.
You know what, we all think, and just so people know, when you do a TEDx talk, you're happy with 500 views, and then you're happy with 1,000 views, and then you hit 10,000 and you're like, oh my God, I can't, like you're jumping out of your pants. You can't believe it, and so when you see your talk starting to go, we get on average, we've basically gotten, 750,000 views in 6 months. And it's like, you just sit there and you go, you honestly, you can't believe it. You're in awe and shock every day that you go, people are still watching it.
Yeah.
So, and people like you are reaching out to me, and I get to have these conversations that are so valuable and mean so much to me.
Yeah. We often fall into that idea that technology is really causing so much damage in our lives, and there's so much hurt coming from the technology in our lives. But then you hear stories like this and you realize the power it has to do absolute good. And it doesn't have to come from a major degree and all these other qualifications. It just comes from our everyday lives and the impact that can have on others. I just love it.
As I always say, I'm not a writer. I'm not well educated. I'm not any of those. I don't have 12 degrees. I didn't go. I'm not a researcher in giving or anything else. But you learn as you go, and you keep being empowered by the people around you, and what you do see that's good in the world, and you take your skills that you've got, and then you take your passion, and you take, people are always saying, I'm looking for my passion, or I'm looking for that thing. This was my thing. 365 Give was just my thing, and I've always known it. And so I take that passion and I volunteer my time. Nobody gets paid at 365 Give for anything that they do. We're a volunteer run organization, but it's our passion that drives us all, because we can see that impact and we know that we can all make a difference.
It's fantastic. All right. So let's have a look at, what are some of the suggestions, ideas? How do we get this ball rolling in our homes? Can you give us just maybe 15 or so ideas, 10, 15 ideas?
Absolutely. What we always suggest is, if you want to do it as a family or you want to do it as an individual, start a list. You can either go onto our site. We have it's a 10 days. Just get a list out. I don't care if it's a scrap of paper beside your desk. Put it on your to-do list. Even if you have to do a calendar reminder to yourself, one day we'll have an app that will give you a calendar reminder. Just make a list. Sit down and go, okay, so, I look out my window, and for me, I can look out my window and go, okay, I know I have an animal shelter 2 blocks from my house. I have a Salvation Army store 3 blocks from my house. I've got an ocean that has more cleaning up than needs to be done. I have 20 people probably easily in my life that I could send a note of gratitude to every morning that I wake up. So instead of the first thing doing, checking my emails and going to work, instead I send a note of gratitude in the morning. You know, a beautiful thing these days is a handwritten note. It's so out of style to write a handwritten note that if you actually send somebody a card and stick it in the mail, it's so lovely for people, you know, or pick up the phone, call somebody that you haven't talked to in 6 months or 5 years and say, oh, you know, I miss you. I miss you in my life. You made such a big impact to me. You know, I love you, whatever those things are. You know, we even say a simple, smile at everybody, pack an extra lunch, give it to the guy that's the homeless guy on your way to work on the street. Just pack an extra lunch. You know, hold the door open for somebody as you're going into your office building. Let somebody in front of you, instead of swearing at them as you're driving to work in the morning, just, you know, stand back from it all and go, okay, how can I offer kindness? How can I offer, you know, compassion to somebody today? Because it's actually so simple. You know, go help your neighbor, bring their garbage cans in when it's garbage day and just bring them in for them instead, because they will notice. You know, we have a couple of elderly people that live beside us. So when I'm cutting my grass, I just cut theirs at the same time. It's whatever, 20 minutes of my time. It's no big deal. Or I rake their leaves, or I shovel their snow. Yeah. You know, and we just do it automatically. And in our house, we recognize it, because I have small children. We recognize that even if they're sharing toys, or one brother offers something to another brother, we call it our 365 give, because it's made it a family culture for us to do your 365 give for the day. And so when they share or they offer something, we call it 365. They did their give for the day. And it's just part of our family culture.
Yeah. Yeah. I know just recently here in Victoria, we've currently got an exhibition of Mirameko, which is one of my mum's and my favourite designers. She makes beautiful materials and stuff. And so what I did was I cut the ad out and stuck it in an envelope, and then got my kids sparkly textures and decorated an envelope and put it in the mail to my mum to let her know about it. And it's just, you know, it's just, wouldn't you love to receive that in the mail? Just something with, you know, sparkles and glitter and.
Absolutely. You know, and they are, so, you know, I always say this, people always see me, I have three little boys. And so, hold on, one is right here. So he may just pop his head in the camera too.
That's okay. We'd love to meet
you. But, you know, what was I going to say? People in our neighborhood always see me running around with my kids all the time. And some days they drive me a little crazy, like right about now. And so I literally, when people say to me, you know, oh, you know, lucky you got 3 boys. And I say, you know what? And it's always men that say this to me. I say, go home, call your mother today and just say thank you.
Yep.
Because she deserves it 7,000 times over. And you actually need to call your mother every day and say thank you. You know, or your father, or whoever that person was that particularly raised you, just go home and say thank you, you know, because being a parent literally is, you know, one of those jobs that is thankless, and you can never say it enough times.
Yeah. I know I've pulled you away from your precious boys on a Sunday.
Okay, no worries. We're happy to be here.
Let's look at winding this up, but I know that people are going to want to jump on board and find out more about what you're doing. We've, you know, as part of this series, each of the speakers is offering a gift to the audience, and I know that people can hop onto your website and do a sign up for free. So can you just tell them a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we one of the things that we are committed to at 365 Give is that giving shouldn't cost you any money. So our site is free to everybody. We have a global community. You can come and sign up. Membership is free. We will inspire you. We will encourage you. We will give you lots of ideas. And most importantly, we really want to share your stories. So if you have a story of giving you'd like to share with us, you can go on to almost any social media platform, at least all the big ones, Instagram, Facebook, even YouTube. Tag us at 365 Give. We want to share your stories with everybody else, because we don't want it to be just us. We want to share everybody's stories who are out there as well. And we would love to have you as part of our community.
Fantastic. This has been absolutely gold, Jacqueline.
Thank you, Edwina. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I wish you the best of luck. And thank you for all you're doing, and sharing these conversations and putting the good conversations out there, because they're just needed amongst all of us, and especially moms and women.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
You too, and I'll look forward to seeing everybody soon.
Bye.
Have a great day.